The non-UCC filing and the bankruptcy exit strategy. 1. The shift from Chapter 15 to Chapter 7. At first, the focus was on Chapter 15 bankruptcies. That part of the code deals with cross-border recognition of foreign debtors. Complicated, technical, and honestly not the right fit for the plan. The pivot came with a move to Chapter 7. This version is blunt. It wipes out the debtor completely. So what does that actually mean? It means the so-called debtor tied to government certificates is treated as insolvent and dragged into an involuntary liquidation. It is direct, it is cleaner, and it avoids the legal gymnastics of Chapter 15. Footnote. Chapter 7 is liquidation while Chapter 15 is cross-border recognition of foreign insolvencies. 2. The non-UCC filing. Here's where it gets strange. The idea is to make a filing that looks like a UCC but is labeled non-UCC. Think of it as a ghost entry. Hidden from the usual registries, recorded locally, not at the state level. The pitch is that it claims full value on unpaid performance and payment bonds supposedly tied to lifelong labor. So what does that actually mean? It is an attempt to say the system owes for every ounce of labor never compensated. A creative thought, but one that the courts would laugh at harder than a bad dad joke. Still, the concept is presented as the master key. Footnote. A non-UCC filing is described as hidden, private, and separate from normal state filings. 3. The child labor contract theory. This section could be a comedy skit if it weren't so serious. The claim is that birth certificates, Social Security applications, and even driver's licenses are child labor contracts. Because each signature supposedly creates a newborn debtor entity, no matter how old the signer. The logic is that society has been eating the apple of child labor since the beginning. So what does that actually mean? It suggests all personal documents are evidence of unpaid child labor and can be claimed against. A bold assertion, but more myth than law. Footnote. The metaphor of child labor contracts is used to explain unpaid claims against personal documents. 4. The role of the creditor. Under this setup, the person is cast as creditor. The estate, the trust, even the imagined private bank are all treated as creditors too. Together they file claims against the debtor identity. The filing is supposed to show full value without numbers. Why? Because no one can calculate the worth of a lifetime's labor on paper. The move is theatrical. So what does that actually mean? It means the claimant is asserting maximum value by default. If the debtor is dragged into Chapter 7, the creditor claim is sitting at the top of the pile. At least in theory. Footnote. The approach reframes the person as creditor and the paper identity as debtor. 5. The surrender of identifiers. At the end, the guidance is blunt. Hand it all back. The Social Security card, the birth certificate, the license, the INs. All of it. The idea is that these are anchors tying a person to the system. Without them, the individual supposedly becomes hidden and works directly with Treasury. So what does that actually mean? In practice, it would mean giving up the very documents needed to function in daily life. Rent, jobs, travel, all gone. The promise of a card loaded with wealth is the tease. The reality is less generous. Footnote. The narrative concludes with surrendering all official identifiers to exit the system. 6. The bigger picture. The story ties together liens, bankruptcy, child labor metaphors, and hidden filings into a single arc. The hook is the promise of billions. The tease is the debit card loaded with funds. The reveal is the demand to erase all ties to society's system. The problem is obvious. The empathy comes from seeing how debt and control grind people down. The action suggested is paperwork that mainstream courts reject out of hand. So what does that actually mean? It means the plan is more fable than fact, but it carries lessons in how people search for exits when trapped by law and finance. Footnote. The narrative is framed as a legal escape but operates more as allegory than enforceable strategy.